new to prank.
That's so fun. I love it so much. Grishma, how about you?
I think I'd be a turtle. I just love the patterns on their shells and how slow they are, but also how fast they can swim.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. I love that. I love turtles too. I think they're so cute. There's a couple at the museum by where I live, and we go to visit them all the time. And Louisa, what about you?
Think I would have to choose a polar bear. I
Ooh,
get to see them here in Winnipeg at the zoo. I've seen them in Calgary at the zoo, but I've also seen them in the wild in Churchill, Manitoba, and I just think they're so cute. I
mhm.
have no other reason besides the fact that they're so cute.
And I don't think people who have never seen one in real life or like even one in a museum, I don't think they know how big polar bears actually are. It's kind of
Yes.
insane. Like so big. It's awesome. And I'm seeing some awesome answers in the chat too. So Isaac says he likes to go scuba diving. Oh, he's from Trinidad, so I'm sure there's some amazing scuba diving down there. Danica loves rafting. Oh, rapids. That seems a little scary, but good for you. Melissa loves dolphins, and Amani wants to be a hermit crab. It would be fun to be a hermit crab because you could pick whatever fun shell you want. I'm here for that. That's really great. Okay, let's quickly do one last question. I was going to move on, but we still have a couple people popping in from the waiting room. So for my very last question, if we could go to the next screen, please, is what is one issue that you see facing your oceans? So what do you think is something, an issue is facing the oceans? Now, instead of asking everyone, I'm going to go to our ocean expert. So Mala, would you like to tell us about maybe one issue maybe that people don't know about that could be facing our oceans?
Yeah, I would actually say overfishing. I don't think folks really understand the impact of the seafood industry, right? I think 90% of fish stocks are overfished. And that means a lot of coastal communities have been affected by it. A lot of people have lost their main source of food because there isn't fish found along coastlines anymore. So I would say overfishing is one that's gaining a lot more attention, but it's a big one that needs to be addressed soon. Yeah.
Totally. Awesome. Thank you very much. And we will talk a little bit about this and some other issues. I want to thank you guys all for typing in the chat. That is the best way to participate. I see lots of cameras, lots of faces. We would like to officially welcome you to World Oceans Day. We're so happy to have you guys all here live with us on Zoom. Also to our friends that are joining us on YouTube. So great to see you as well. There's lots of ways to participate. So the chat is the best way. If you have any comments or questions, type away. The more that I see in the chat, the happier I'm going to be. So before we begin, I would love to do a land acknowledgement. So I would like to acknowledge that I am joining from Amiskwachewaskeakan, and this is in Treaty 6 territory, and it's an area that is colonially known as Edmonton, Alberta, and has been a traditional gathering place and traveling route to many peoples. These include the Cree, the Saulteaux, the Blackfoot, Métis, the Dene, and the Nakota Sioux. And since we're also meeting virtually, I want to acknowledge the traditional lands that you are each joining from across Turtle Island, but also around the world. So we acknowledge these lands to improve our understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures, and to reaffirm our commitment to reconciliation and improving relationships between nations across the country and internationally. I would like everyone right now to take a moment to think about one action that you've taken maybe today or in the last couple days that you think could have had a positive or a negative impact on the lands and the waters where you live. Now, Indigenous groups around the world have been living in harmony with the land and water that we all share for time immemorial. And today we're going to work on shifting our relationship with our environment toward a more sustainable focus that aligns more closely with those traditional ways of thinking, and to protecting this precious resource. So I hope that by the end of the session today, we're going to come away with a new appreciation for these shared waters and the roles that we play in protecting them. And we can start to think about maybe some actions that we can take that will definitely have some positive impacts. So we have a very full event today. We have a wonderful panel that's joining us. I have prepared some questions for them, but we will have some time for questions at the end. So at any point during the event, if a great question pops in your head, please type it in the chat. If we have time to get to it, we would love to answer those. The reason that you guys are here is to ask those great questions. As well, if you would like to unmute and ask a question out loud, all you have to do is raise your imaginary little hand emoji, and we'd love to call on you and have you unmute and ask your question as well. So a couple of great ways to be involved. As well, if you are joining us on YouTube, you can type your questions in the YouTube chat. They come across live to us as well, so I can share those with our panelists. Okay, first things first, before we get to our panel, we actually have a really cool, fun new activity that we're doing for this event. And it's a shared Google Doc. So I'm just going to pop the link in the chat right now so you guys can all click on that and open it. Now you're going to have access to this for the entire event and afterwards. At any point, you are allowed to add thoughts to the document. You can put more than one if you'd like to. And these are ideas that we are going to be sharing for an e-card. Now, if you haven't been involved in Decarbonize before, you might be asking yourself, well, what is an e-card? Don't you worry, we will tell you. So if you already have an idea of a message that you would like to share for Oceans Day, you can start typing it in there right now. If you're like, I want to wait and see what this is all about, don't worry, we have lots of time, but I want to make sure you guys can all access that document. So make sure you click on it and you have it. Okay. Now, I would love to introduce our wonderful panelists. So our first panelist is Mala Sharma. From cute and cuddly kittens to creepy crawly insects, Mala has always had a passion and love for nature. She studied environmental studies at York University and embarked on her mission to become an environmental educator. She absolutely loves teaching about ocean conservation and is motivated to inspire youth around the world to take action against climate change. So welcome, Mala. We're happy to have you. Oh, I don't know. I was kind of thinking maybe you'd be like, I'm here too. I didn't warn you about
Sorry,
that.
I was waving hello. I was being shy. Hello, everybody. Happy World Ocean Day. I'm super excited to be here. It's the best day of the year. Shout out
Wonderful.
Oceans.
Thank you. And our second panelist, Luisa Aquino. She is a social innovation and outreach manager with TakingITGlobal. She was born in Manila, Philippines, and grew up in Winnipeg. She is a global motivational speaker who is passionate about advocating for youth mental health, gender equality, and human rights. In 2018, she became one of the youngest top 25 RBC Canadian immigrant award recipients and the youngest second RBC Youth Award recipient. So welcome, Luisa.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here.
Nailed it. And finally, we are so happy to have our friend Grishma joining us from India. Grishma is a poetry-obsessed, overdramatic 15-year-old climate activist with a penchant for the arts. She likes to paint, write, sing, and act. Grishma is a shining example of a decarbonized youth who believes that climate action should feel like art, not just anxiety. So thank you for joining us, Grishma.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, so we have a lot of questions for our panelists. I think probably the easiest way to make sure that we keep it fair is we will go in the order that I introduced you for each of the answers, and we don't have that who's going to talk next thing. So for our first question, I would like to pass to Mala first to answer our first panel question, which is, what climate issues are facing the community where you live?
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Rebecca. Again, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out to join in this conversation. So I live in Toronto, Ontario in Canada. And right now what we're seeing is not very close to an ocean, but we do have a lot of lakes, rivers, streams, little ponds, watersheds. And right now, we're actually seeing a very big increase in algal blooms in Toronto and Ontario. And they're occurring more frequently and far more intense. So things like rising temperatures, warmer winters, they kind of extend the growing season for algae. And that can really, really impact like the quality of drinking water. It can harm aquatic ecosystems, and it's really, really bad for local human and animal health. So I would say that's a really big one I've been seeing a lot.
Okay, and I would also love to hear, as our panelists are answering, if you guys in the group hear anything that resonates with you, feel free to type that in the chat too. Like, do you guys have algal blooms where you're at? Is that a thing that we're only facing here in Western or in Eastern Canada? We love the chat, so please let us know. All right, Louisa, I'll pass it to you next.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So I am living here in Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada. And right now, Winnipeg is experiencing lots of forest fires. And so with the extreme heat that we've had a lot of hotter days than we have in the past. And so with the forest fires going on in communities like Lac du Bonnet and Kenora, and northern rural communities, it's been very smoky here in Winnipeg. As of right now, our air quality is actually at a 10, which means it's at a very high risk level. And these fires and the smoke alone can impact people's health, but also just being mindful of the lives affected in the communities where the fires are. So the animals, the people, the buildings. There's so many different people in different communities that are affected, even outside of the fires communities. So here in Winnipeg, we're still very far away, but we're getting that smoke, we're getting that air. And that's just one of the very impactful challenges that we're going through right now is just having to stay inside, having to be mindful if you have any other health issues that you've had before, just being mindful of the air quality and staying inside as much as we can.
I will say my impact is very similar to Louisa. So I totally hear where she's coming from. I don't know. I know we have a few schools joining from South America. Can I get like a head nod or a shake? Are wildfires a common thing where you guys are joining from? Okay, yeah. So it looks like a few nods. Yeah. So there's a few that hear where you're coming from. Grishma, I'd love to pass it to you next. Let us know what impacts your community in India is facing.
So, India is this really diverse country, and we have monsoons almost every year in June. But lately, there's delayed monsoons, or there's an early onset of them. So there are a lot of unpredictable weather events impacting oceans. In fact, we're flooding. And if one part of the country is flooding, the other part of the country is facing drought or water crises. So it's completely messed up. And the second thing I think would be dolphins, which are dying. So India's national aquatic water animal is the Ganga River dolphin. And lately, people have been reporting that nobody's really seeing any of these dolphins in the river. And there's also mangrove encroachments. So this is really affecting the biodiversity of rivers like the Ganga, which are very sacred to the country.
Okay. Sounds like, I mean, your pictures are quite impactful. So it sounds like there's a lot happening. Obviously a great thing that you're getting so involved in climate action, which actually brings me to my next question. So what actually made you want to become involved in the climate work or in like the social involvement that you're doing within your school, your projects, or with your job? So Mala, you first.
Yeah. I heard that my mic was having some issues. Is this a little bit clearer?
A little bit nicer, yeah.
Great. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so what made me want to get involved in climate action? So I was very young when I knew I loved wildlife and nature, and I think it's attributed to my culture and my upbringing. My culture and people from my culture, my community are very deeply connected to nature. I was born and raised in Toronto, but I would get to visit India almost every year with my family. And being from the part of India that's in like the lush forests and mountains, I was able to kind of see the impacts of climate change that were influenced by big cities and things like that in on pristine ecosystems, right? And it demonstrated to me at a very young age how dire the climate change situation was. I also noticed later on in life that there's a really big gap in knowledge between youth and the ocean in specific. So I'm incredibly optimistic that we can do something to turn it around, but in order to do so, we need to make ocean education and environmental education more accessible. So that's precisely why I became an environmental educator with OceanWise.
I think your story will resonate a lot with a lot of the kids that are here because I know just speaking to some of the decarbonized participants, I think they have kind of a similar mind frame going into it as you did as a young person. I mean, we're still young. Louisa, I'll pass it to you next.
Yeah, awesome. My answer is a bit of a three-part answer, I guess I could say. So I think the first thing is that I just really, really believe that everybody has the power to make the world a better place. And I think that when we look at young people and growing up as a young person who really was involved in trying to make my communities and the environments around me better, I really do believe that young people do have that power to create change, to create better environments, and to make a difference in our communities. And so that was the first thing that really got me to think about what are the small actions that we can do to make the environment better. And stepping into the world of mental health, thinking about climate anxiety and how, as young people, we're faced with so much information on climate anxiety, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram. Sometimes we just doom scroll and it's all about melting ice caps, it's about the environment, it's about wildfires. And I think that that conversation of climate anxiety is important, but also having conversations of hope and empowerment and inspiration to know that we can still, like Mala said, make a big difference and make it and turn things around. And the last thing I would say is just younger family and younger cousins. They're so young and they really only know summers with forest fires, which is so different than the summers that I've had growing up. So wanting to make sure that they get to enjoy the world and other generations get to enjoy the world the same way that I did, has really pushed me to really care about the environment in ways that we can do better.
It's like such a selfless view. I love that so much. It's like you're doing it for other people. It's so beautiful. Grishma, how about yourself?
So, like Louisa said, I think I've also faced a lot of climate anxiety from reading the news because of how problem focused it usually is. But lately, I've been reading a lot of solution focused headlines, which is really helping me with climate anxiety. But that's, I guess, one of the main reasons that I got involved, climate anxiety from the news. And another thing is, I literally noticed the impacts of climate change around my community. So, my grandparents, who are actually farmers, so they live in the village and they really depend on the monsoon for their livelihood, I guess, for agriculture. A lot of the people there. And because of the delay with the monsoons and because of more erratic rainfall patterns, um, the crop that they're growing is kind of getting destroyed. So, I've seen the impacts of climate change affect them firsthand, which is why I wanted to get involved in it.
Amazing. Thank you. And I want to apologize. I turned off your video as you were speaking just because your audio is getting a little laggy. So feel free to turn on your video in between. But when you're unmuting to answer, you'll have to turn it back off if that's okay. It'll just make your audio come through a little bit
Yeah,
clearer.
I'll do that. I think there's no problem.
Perfect. All right. And that brings me to my next question. So, individually for yourself, how do you support climate at your organization, in your everyday life, or at your school? So, Mala, you first.
Yeah, so I work for OceanWise. So our whole kind of thing is trying to protect and restoring the world's oceans. And we focus on addressing three issues that the ocean is facing, which are climate change, overfishing, and ocean pollution. We have so many dedicated teams consisted of scientists, researchers, educators, artists, you name it. And we're all focused on bringing our experience together to find a solution for the same question, which is how can we protect the ocean. So we do everything from growing kelp to monitoring whales and stopping ship strikes. We study microplastics. We lead shoreline cleanups around the world. And I get to be part of spreading the word about it. So I get to educate on it and I get to hear new ideas and I get to collaborate with young and old minds everywhere and just find a solution for the ocean and for the environment. So it's lovely.
Awesome. It sounds awesome. Jealous of your job. I will pass the microphone next to Louisa. Let us know, what do you do with your work?
Yeah, awesome. So here at Taking It Global, we've had a bunch of different programs that have gone towards supporting young people who want to make a change in their community, especially around the environment. So we've funded a bunch of projects, ranging from community cleanup, so people who want to clean up their shorelines or community parks. We've had fellows and some grantees who've just kind of started weekly cleanups and summer cleanups with their friends, which has been super cool to see. We've also funded programs for environmental education. So we've had a fellow for one of our programs actually write a book about the environment and ways that he has experienced climate anxiety in his life and turned it into a kid's book. We've also helped fund programs like a plant-based cooking class, which allowed young people to learn how to make healthy food without any meat. And so that itself can make a huge difference on the environment. On top of that, we also have a completely other program called Commit to Act, which I'll be sharing later on. But these are just a few of the ways that we funded programs to help youth make the change possible in their communities.
I will say, if any of our schools here are looking for inspiration for some of their youth action projects within Decarbonize, Taking It Global has so many cool examples and ideas of things that schools have done. Like the vegetarian cooking class is a really awesome, really fun event that you guys can do as part of your action project. I'm sure Louisa will be happy to give you guys details about how some of that stuff came to be. And Grishma, I'll pass it to you next. So what's something that you do to take action?
So, recently at school, we've started this climate club where we take younger children, so like primary kids, on nature walks to help them stay more connected to nature. Because since we live in the city, there's really a very less number of people who know about trees or or like in general nature. So I think it really helps them connect to the earth. We also do these campaigns, poetry, drama, and storytelling to teach young kids about climate. So yeah.
Wonderful. And I love the pictures of the kids doing the activities around your school. That makes me so happy. That's so wonderful to see. Okay, my next question is, I think we have time to get this one. Number 4 is, what are some specific actions that youth could do to help the climate or ocean? So maybe not a big project, but what are some smaller scale actions that some youth could do if they want to make a difference? Mala.
Yeah, so relating to the ocean in specific, I would say the easiest thing that you can do is buy sustainable seafood or just buy products locally. So I know for some of us, buying sustainable seafood might be a little bit tough. If you are in a bigger city and you can ask questions as to where the seafood came from, how it was fished, the type of species it is, that can make a really big difference. Table to table, being more mindful of the food that we're consuming is really, really important. And then buying locally as well, reducing those carbon emissions, right? How many trucks, boats, airplanes are shipping our things across the world to get us our products? So trying to buy locally and trying to repurpose your items instead of being a over consumer and purchasing new things everywhere you go.
Totally. I love that one. That's awesome. Louisa, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I would say if you can, if you live near an ocean, clean up the shoreline. I think that's such a quick and easy, fun thing you can do with your friends or your family. When you're doing that, you're helping with pollution, but you're also helping the wildlife that lives on that shore, that lives in the water, and that itself can make a huge difference. And it's always so fun to gather with your friends, go out on a nice sunny day, maybe, bring your reusable water bottles so you're not using plastic, get some cold water, and just make a day out of it. I love hosting community cleanups. I love spending time with friends and my family in meaningful ways. And it just really makes for a really good story, but also a really great way to make a difference in your community that doesn't cost anything, except for some of your time.
I love that. And I think talking about like mental health and eco anxiety, like going on a walk in nature while you're also taking action for the environment is like one of the best things that you can do to help with eco anxiety, because our brains love being in nature. It's like a shortcut to make yourself feel happier. So that is such a good one that you can do. And Grishma, how about you? What are some actions that youth can do to help the climate?
Um, as part of Decarbonize, there's this program called Art for Action. And whenever I have climate anxiety, I think I really love looking at what other people around the world drew about climate and how they turned their anxiety into something, into art, and how that helped them cope with it. I think drawing, painting, and other creative activities like this can really help you cope with climate anxiety, and they also help you bring about awareness and tell more people about climate. So, Art for Action is this really cool program by Decarbonize. You can go to the website and you can submit art pieces. You can also look at art pieces from all around the world. I think it's really empowering.
And can you tell me, there's this picture here where it shows you guys all pointing at a wall. Where was this picture taken? I would love to hear about it.
This picture was taken at the Canada Pavilion at COP29. We had the privilege of setting up an art stall there with all of these pictures from all around the world that people have drawn about climate change, and it was so empowering to see little kids and people my age draw about climate, and it being displayed at a UN conference where so many decision makers can actually look at it and understand how the youth feels about climate.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I just love that picture so much, and that art display was so beautiful. I really wanted you to speak on it. And another cool thing too about the Art for Action is, if you guys are not aware of what COP is, it's the United Nations Climate Conference. So world leaders from your country actually will see the art that you post on this Art for Action website. So the art from Grishma School is actually posted and seen by decision makers while they're making decisions on future climate actions. So super cool program. Thank you very much, Grishma. And that brings us to our kind of final organized question. So this is going to be my last question before I open up to questions from the group. So now's your chance, if you guys are in a class think a little bit about what you would like to ask our panelists. I would love to see some questions start to come in on the chat. So I'm going to challenge one person from every classroom to give us a question. Now, as they're thinking, our last question for me, what is a project or a program that students can become involved in within your organization? I think a lot of the kids here want to be more involved. I would love to hear about some of your projects. Mala, you first.
Yeah, so this is actually a tricky one for Oceanwise because right now a lot of the programs and projects that we have run in Canada. So if any of you are in Canada or at some point are going to be coming to Canada, living here, visiting here, if you're between the ages of 15 and 30, we have a variety of different youth programs that are available, similar to the Decarbonize program, where essentially in ours you get to pick a project, yeah, and you get mentored, you receive funding anywhere between $2,000 to $10,000 to lead a project in your community that just ties to ocean and ocean conservation. So that's a great one. But if you're not in Canada, I would again just advise you just, look for sustainable seafood alternatives, and look at plastic reduction practices that might be near you. I think those are great ones. Yeah.
I will say too, even if you're not in Canada, we actually had a student, Natalia, who came to one of these panels, I believe it was during COP16, that wanted to do an Oceanwise beach cleanup. And she went online and she's like, well, I'm not in Canada. And she was like, I'm going to do it anyway, and organized a beach cleanup using the Oceanwise model. So they have all of the information, they have everything there. All it takes is someone interested and excited to make it happen.
There we go.
And Louisa, how about you? What are some programs that you guys have at Taking It Global?
Yeah, one of the programs we have that you can participate in anywhere in the world is called Commit to Act, and that is a platform that allows you to see and track your collective impact when it comes to sustainable actions. So whether it's reusing, having a reusable water bottle, doing instead of using a plastic bag, you have a reusable bag. If you're composting your food, if you're walking or biking or taking public transit instead of a car, these are just a few actions that you can use to log on Commit to Act, and you can see how much CO2 you're saving. You can also create a group that you can challenge your friends or classmates with, and you can see who gets the most amount of points from doing sustainable actions. And this is just a fun way to see that there is no such thing as a change too small. Every single thing that we do can make a big difference. And so I definitely encourage you to check out committoact.org and sign up and to log in action today.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And we use Commit to Act always when we run our Decarbonize programs internationally. The kids have so much fun with it. And it's really cool when you go home because you get to see the pictures from all of your friends that you've made around the world. So I can see, what Amani in Kenya is eating for lunch or what Sophie in Argentina is having for lunch. It's really fun to see what does their public transit look like. So a really fun way to connect with people around the world. And also it's kind of fun and addicting and a little bit competitive. It's awesome. Thank you very much. And Grishma, how about yourself?
Well, of course, I'm going to talk about Decarbonize because it's one of the most amazing programs I've been part of. Decarbonize is, as you all know, the world's largest youth led climate action project. And I think the best thing about Decarbonize is how it brings so many people from so many different cultures together. And you get to experience and look at opinions from all over the world. But something specific about Decarbonize that I really enjoy doing was writing the Global Child Manifesto, which is this document which has all of the demands of children across the world that they want to present to decision makers and world leaders about their feelings for climate change and how they want to help and why they think that climate education is needed or how the youth can actually help in decision making for climate change. So I got to be part of COP29 last year, where I got to present my opinion and also the Global Child Manifesto. So I think as part of this initiative, I didn't just learn about climate change, but I also overcame my climate anxiety. I met so many new people from all across the world um, who want to commit to change and who want to help make this world a better place. And it's really amazing. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I will say too, to kind of echo what you said, the biggest impact that we always hear after students do this program is I didn't realize how similar we all were. Like we have our friends from Australia and Peru and Canada and the Netherlands, and they all come together and they're like, you like Ariana Grande? I like Ariana Grande. Like you're passionate about beach cleanups. I'm passionate about beach cleanups. And just having that connection to realize how many people are on your team around the world is super duper powerful. So I can't say enough about how great it is to be able to run such a great program and with great students like Grishma. It was a very, very fun time to have you there. So that is my last kind of organized question for now. Again, I would like to remind you, if you do have a question for our panelists, now is your last chance to type them in the chat, because we have a few more minutes before I share kind of one last action and activity that you can take. As well, if you want to ask it out loud, you're welcome to ask it out loud. As I wait for that, we did have one that came across in the YouTube, and you can feel free to answer or not answer. We don't all have to answer all of these. Oh, look, I have one in here too. Maybe I'll save mine. Melissa, Anne, and Larissa from Brazil asked a great one. In what ways does supporting sustainable seafood choices help reduce overfishing and carbon emissions in the ocean? So I think I'm going to pass this one to Mala. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about sustainable seafood?
Yes, I could definitely jump in there. Okay, so when we're thinking sustainable seafood, there's a lot of data and science that goes into determining if a species or a fish that we're consuming can be considered sustainable. So we're looking at the species of fish that is fished, right? So if we're catching salmon, which one of the 7 species of salmon did we catch, right? And like how much is that species abundance? How likely is that species to reproduce in a way that a lot of those offspring would be able to survive into adulthood, right? What are the natural factors and the natural impacts that might, reduce population sizes? So how likely is that fish to make it into being an adult, right? We're also looking at how the fish is caught, where the fish was caught from, the fishing technique that was used, if it was local, if it's imported, if it's farmed, if there's any chemicals used. So we actually are talking to a lot of local small scale fisheries, working with indigenous fisheries, and then also some large scale fisheries to try and collect all that data. We have this big, big, big chart that helps us kind of determine if it's sustainable. And if it is sustainable, then it will mean that, it was caught ethically. It has those less emissions because maybe it's shipped less or there were less chemicals used to harvest it. So a sustainable seafood is kind of addressing all those things that you brought up in your question by having like this chart, filter it down and see like, okay, yes, there's 7 out of 10 check marks on this. We can pass this as sustainable. Whereas something that might only have 2 out of 10 check marks, that's not really going to help with any of those. So we can remove that off the sustainable seafood list.
It is quite a process.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we have a huge seafood team that works incredibly hard.
That's awesome. And this next one, I guess, is kind of related to your work as well. Any information you have about microfibers or microplastics and washing your clothes? I know I've worked a little bit with OceanWise in the past, and there were some tips and tricks that you guys had for how to reduce the amount of microfibers that come out of your clothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to see, like, am I able to share my screen?
I
I
think
might
you
have
should be able
something
to. Let me know
here.
if it's not working.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, let me give it a try.
I think you
Let
should.
me pull it up here. Yeah, so we do have a plastics team that works incredibly hard to study the effects of microplastics on wildlife and ecosystems in the ocean. And then we also have a plastics reduction team that is trying to find ways to reduce microfiber shedding. And through our studies and through our research, we were actually able to see that the way we wash our clothes has a really, really big impact on how much plastic is entering our bodies of water. So, studies actually show that around 533 million microfibers are released per household every single year. And just by changing our wash cycle, so using a gentle cycle, using cold water, we can reduce microfiber shedding by up to 70%. We can take it one step further by hanging our clothes to dry. Heat is really bad for our clothes. It's going to make our clothes weaker. It's going to tear apart all those fabrics. And all those materials, microplastics, are just going to go down the drain and they end up in our rivers and streams. So just by doing this one thing, you can really reduce the amount of plastics and microfibers that are ending up in our ocean.
That's awesome. I feel like it's something that we didn't think about before, and now it's like every time I buy clothing, I try to buy secondhand, but when I do, I try to look at the tag and and buy like natural fibers if I can.
Yeah.
I hope some of us here are doing the same thing.
On top of that, Rebecca, there's actually some brands that are now who are trying to be more eco-friendly. They will actually release the shedding percentage of their materials. So if you really want to look into the brands that you're buying, you can take a look to see the materials that they're using and what the shedding percentage is. If there's a lower shedding percentage, or if it's like all cotton, things like that, it means less microfibers. So you can look at that as well. It's usually on the tag, but yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I'll say there's a couple other questions in here about microplastics and synthetic fibers. I don't know if we'll have time to answer those all live, but Mala, you can feel free if you have any links or anything, you can reply to those in the chat. I do have a couple great questions that came in from Kenya, one from Ivy and one from Nesta, asking about what has the local community been like? So this is a question I would like to ask all of my panelists. When you go out and you talk to people in your community, are they very supportive of climate action? Are they very involved in climate action? Is your community very supportive of the work that you do? I would love to hear a little bit of your feedback. We have some from high school, some from a little older. I would like to hear a little bit about, where we're all at in the different places we're joining from, in any order.
Yeah, I can start. So I feel like for a lot of the youth that we work with, they've all been so supportive and they've all been so eager to make a change. I think when you're younger and we kind of find ourselves in that like middle part where it's like I do remember summers when I was younger when there was no wildfires, and now as I'm older, I do see that. And so I feel like as like within my age group and people a bit younger and a little bit older, they do see the real effects of climate change. And so I feel like there's been so much support in wanting to get involved and wanting to learn more. And I think that in terms of the youth that I've worked with, they've all been very supportive of any initiatives revolving around the environment. So in terms of challenges, I think that a lot of the challenges that they face have been more working with maybe older generations or older individuals that might not be aware or fully educated around environmental change or climate change. And that's something that is definitely a challenge, but I think it is always just really important to find those like-minded youth when you are working in the space, making sure that you're surrounded by individuals who really care about the cause and are passionate about learning more and teaching about it.
Awesome. Grishma, how about yourself? Do you find that your peers are very motivated, not very motivated?
I think there's honestly like mixed reactions from people. So I know a couple of people who would do anything to help out, and and it's really motivating to see people like that because they actively take part in community events or even at school when we're organizing these campaigns. But sometimes there's people saying that it's a waste of money, and sometimes they don't fund us for these campaigns at school. So we've had to fight for it a lot as well. So I think it's honestly mixed reactions, but mostly a lot of people do want to help out, and I'm really grateful for that.
Amazing. And Mala, what about you? How do you feel your community is with supporting? Oh, great. You're typing a lot in there. That's awesome. With community supporting or not supporting some of the climate work.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough where most of my job is getting to work with kids or youth that are really, really excited to be part of the solution and be part of the change. So I feel like I get to be on a very optimistic side of it. I get to talk to little kids who want to protect the fish. I get to talk to youth that are leading incredible projects around the world. So I think the passion is there, the interest is there. I think it's just about us remaining optimistic and supporting and lifting each other up with our projects and supporting us. And I think that can help us foster a really healthy community of conservationists.
Totally. I love that so much. Like, we have to stay positive. We have to work together. Like, we're all in this together. We got this. I will say there's literally so many great questions in the chat. All of my panelists, feel free to answer as many of them as you can in the chat. We are definitely not going to have time to answer them all live. And to our participants, feel free to keep typing them in there. As we kind of work on answering some of those in the chat, I would love to pass the microphone next to my friend Katie. You guys are all clearly very passionate about climate action. She has a great way for you guys to aim that passion in a wonderful direction. So Katie, I'll pass it to you to let some students know about maybe some next steps after the event today.
Perfect. Thank you. Just let me know if you can see my screen.
Looks perfect.
Good. Okay. Hi, everyone. And thank you so much for having me today to be here to talk to you guys a little bit about taking climate action for ocean conservation. So as Rebecca said, my name's Katie, and I'm the Environmental Education Engagement Manager here at GreenLearning. I'm based in Toronto in Canada. So for those of you who don't know too much about GreenLearning, what we do here is we provide free online resources, activities, and challenges for your teachers and for you guys that really focus on climate change, green economy, and energy. So our goal is to really empower you guys to use your voice to make some sort of positive change for your evolving world. So one of our really cool programs here that we have is our e-cards, and this tool is a really great advocacy tool, and it's a way that you guys can take immediate action. Okay, so where you guys can actually take your ideas and turn them into an e-card. You can use your voice through this power of art, creativity, coming up with different messages to really express your passion for the ocean and how you want to take action for ocean conservation. Okay, so whether you guys live right by the ocean or whether you live inland, oceans need our help. Okay, and your voice is so powerful, and you guys have this opportunity to really advocate and educate others on what's important to you. And another really cool part of this activity is the messages that you share actually have a chance to reach decision makers. So I know you guys were working on filling in that Google Doc there with your different messages and stuff. So at the end, what we're going to have is Rebecca's going to share those messages with us, and we're going to be able to actually turn those messages into e-cards, and we'll actually have this opportunity to share them with decision makers. So if you are really interested in a politician, if you're interested in some sort of celebrity, we can definitely share your messages with those individuals. So I want to show you some of these previous e-cards that students and youth have come up with. So if you are really interested in the ocean, you can see some of these e-cards here where students have incorporated all different wildlife that live in the ocean. So really they connect with the ocean, what's important to them, what reminds them of the ocean. So you can even see like a scuba diver here. But your e-cards don't necessarily also have to be for the oceans. They could be any sort of important environmental message that you want to get across to somebody. So I'm really encouraging you guys to really share your messages. So you can see also this one e-card that we have here with Drake. This e-card was actually developed by a student, and they came up with these different lyrics on ice caps melting and those sea levels rising, and we actually sent that e-card to Drake. So you guys have that chance to share your message with a wider group of people. So again, I want to say thank you, and if you do have any questions, you can learn more at programs.greenlearning.ca/e-cards. So you can either submit your e-cards directly through that link, or also share your messages with Rebecca, and she'll be able to share them with us, and we'll be able to share that with a wider group. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I am seeing on the document, there's already lots on there. I would like to get at least one e-card from every single student that's participating here today. So you can go and fill in your message, your name, if you would like to put your name. If you want to remain anonymous, that's also fine. Your country, because we want to know where it's coming from. There's a section that says, who would you like us to send this to? You don't have to have someone in mind. If you leave that spot empty, they will choose a few key decision makers to send it to on your behalf. But if you're like, like I'm from Brazil and I want this to go to our education minister, you can write Brazil's education minister. Even better, you can Google Brazil's education minister's email and put it in there. So yeah, fill in that last column if you can, but if you don't worry, your e-card will still go somewhere. So I just want to remind us all before the end of the event, I would love to see something on there from everyone. Okay, now I do have one last kind of ask for you before I get to our final question for our panelists. And again, loving how many questions are in the chat. I can see that our panelists are doing a great job of trying to keep up and answer all of them in there. So keep asking them. We'll try to keep answering them as much as we can. Now, on your screen, you're going to see a quick little pop-up. And this is just a quick question that we need to keep track of how much we learned today. So there's going to be 2 questions. The first one says, I learned something new at this event. I would like you to agree, neutral, or disagree. Did you learn a new fact? Did you learn anything at the event? Let me know. Second question says, I will make a change in my life to help oceans and climate change. So after going to this event, are you like, I am going to wash my clothes in colder water? That's happening. Or I'm going to start logging every time I use my reusable water bottle on the Commit to Act app. Let me know. Some of us are already doing a lot. So sometimes it's kind of a hard question, but I'll give you guys a couple minutes to just fill in that poll as it comes up on your screen. As I ask my kind of final question to my panelists. So my last question that I like to round out these events with is, what is one piece of advice that you would have for high school students that are wanting to make a difference for global climate change? So if you could just kind of end this event with one big piece of advice, what would it be? So Mala, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, so I think, again, climate anxiety has been a really big theme in today's conversation, and I think in a lot of other conversations that I'm sure a lot of us have been part of. Finding little ways in our everyday life to make meaningful and intentional connections with nature can remind us what we're doing this for and why we're doing it. And it can also make caring for the environment a very normal part of our life. I want all of us, and I urge all of us to find ways to connect to the environment around us that feels really natural and feels really normal and not forced. That way we remain optimistic, we remain positive, it doesn't become a task, and then we can start leading by example, and hopefully people observe that and want to replicate that in their own lives.
Amazing. Eloisa, how about you?
Yeah, I think I would just boil it down to the fact that there is no such thing as a change too small. I think that when we think about saving the world and saving the environment, we think that we have to do all these big, crazy, cool projects, but it's like it can start with just one little action that you do every single day. So whether that's reusable water bottle or not using plastic bags anymore, every single thing that we do really does add up as long as we can all do our own parts. So always making sure that we're being mindful and intentional is always just a great place to start.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Grishma, I'll pass it to you next.
I think one thing that I would say is that your voice matters way more than you think. So don't be afraid to share your perspective or your feelings just because you are younger than most people in the room. Whether it's through social media or TikToks or Instagram or whatever, I think that these little actions can really help bring out awareness. Um, you don't have to solve everything at once. I think we should start small with like tiny actions, like a washing in hot water and washing in cold water, and also just tiny actions like skipping single-use plastics and learning about new climate solutions. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much. I just the feeling of having this kind of positive messages from all of you at the end of this event always just leaves me feeling like so happy. Again, so many great questions in the chat about why you're interested in the ocean, questions about seaforestation and seaweed, questions about what schools can do. We've learned a lot about Commit to Act, e-cards, the Decarbonize program, lots of different ocean-wise grants and projects. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to save the chat from the meeting today and share it with my kind of follow-up email with your teachers, because I think there's a lot of information that we went over and I don't want you guys to miss it all. So my last reminder before we go, you all have access to that shared document. I'm going to give you guys 24 hours to add your messages for our e-cards for World Oceans Day. And then we're sending them along to GreenLearning. So now's your last chance. Get your messages in there. We would love to see them. Some great things we have in there already. Oceans are vital to life on Earth. Climate change is a problem of the present, but we can make sure it's not a problem of the future. There's so many great things in there already. So I'm looking forward to seeing even more. And I wanted to say a final thank you to everyone that came to World Oceans Day today. Now, anyone that came to our Decarbonize launch, we actually, unfortunately, were not able to do our Decarbonize cheer. We always do like a little cheer. So I would like to do it maybe today for World Oceans Day. We could do like a World Oceans Day cheer and take a picture together. So if you're able to turn your camera on, maybe you had it off. If you need to fix your hair or make sure you look great, we're going to get everyone together and make sure we're right in our screens. And we're going to go World Oceans Day. You're also welcome to unmute if you want to. It will be really loud and crazy, but you're welcome to join the cheer if you want. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and I would like everyone's hands up, and we'll go World Oceans Day. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, you guys are ready. Okay, on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1. World Oceans Day. Oh, that looks perfect. Okay, we'll do one more. I see one more camera popping up. Okay, ready? One more. 3, 2, 1. World Oceans Day. Beautiful. Thank you very much to all of our panelists for all of your knowledge and passion. And thank you to all of the students for all your great questions and participating. We'll see you next year at World Oceans Day. Bye-bye. Bye. Happy World Oceans Day. Awesome. Okay. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye. Thanks for the great questions.